So the one piece of advice that I would give myself is to be curious, just to be like as curious as possible.
Well, hello there, my Next Gen fam. Welcome to Mentor Momentum with Next Gen HQ. You are seriously in for a treat today with today's episode. We are going to be talking so much about content, community, maybe even a little bit of romance if we can get there. We'll see where it takes us. We are so honored to have Jackie Anzaroot on with us today. She is the marketing manager at Coffee Meets Bagel and has a super creative and focused air that she brings to all of her work. She's been a content marketer for 5+ years. So, she has a ton of experience in social media management, as well as a really proven strong track record of leveraging content that drives results. Jackie, we are all about all of those words that were just said. So we are so excited to have you on with us today.
Yeah, I'm super stoked.
Amazing. So we're going to dive right in and take you through a little bit of a Next Gen HQ tradition. We just want to get to know you a little bit more as
Mhm.
a person and then dive into all of those good facts that you can tell us.
Sounds great.
Amazing. So rapid fire questions. Whatever comes to mind, that's your answer that you're sticking with. Are you ready?
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm ready.
Amazing. What is one book that has been your favorite you've ever read?
The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin.
Oh, love that
Yeah,
answer.
it's a sci-fi classic.
Amazing. It's so many people tend to go for like the self-help and the business books. I'm a fictional girl myself, so
Yeah.
bring it on. What is the favorite room you have in your house?
The room I'm in now, currently, my office. Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah, that's awesome.
What's your spirit animal?
Wow, that's a hard question. I would say, a bear.
Oh, why would you say that?
I think that I think that they seem like really like approachable, and I think they seem really approachable, but it can actually be pretty intense and scary if when needed. When needed.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Do I have to stick to that answer?
Do you want to change it? You're welcome to change it.
I think yeah, no, I think a bear makes sense. I think that they're approachable. They seem approachable, but they also know how to defend themselves.
That that is a perfect answer. I usually
Yeah.
say Chihuahua because they're cute and they seem really friendly, and then the minute you get really close, they start to freak out and panic and get
Yeah.
really excited. That's me to a T. So I understand you.
Yeah, totally.
Amazing. And then a final question: what is your favorite self-care technique?
I would say that meditation has been really great in terms of self-care. You don't realize until you're actually in it how much time you spend trying to how much time you spend not focused and how much time you spend looking at your phone or just finding like ways to occupy your time. Whereas meditation kind of makes it this space for you, just you.
I love that. It teaches you the art of focus and just breathing
Hmm.
for the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, Jackie, now that we've been able to get to know you a little bit more personally with some
Hmm.
great answers, I'm not going to forget the bear one for a long
Oh
time.
my God.
We are now going to move into the next stage of this chat with you. And this is really where
Hmm.
we want to just learn from your experiences. As your bio mentioned, you've been in this world for about 5+ years. And I'm sure
Hmm.
before that have had other experiences, maybe even education that has really vaulted you into your current space.
Hmm. Yeah.
So I just want to learn a little bit from you. So first off, looking back at your years of experience and even before you started work, what is the one piece of advice you would give your 20-year-old self?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the one piece of advice that I would give myself is to be curious, just to be like as curious as possible. I think that when you're in college and you're just kind of like first just starting out and putting your feelers out there, what you want to do, you kind of feel like you kind of need to know what you want to do from the beginning, and have like a straight course or a straight path. But I think that like everybody could benefit from, taking a course or two in like marketing or, software engineering, or just to have a basic level understanding. I think that that would. Oh, you're muted, by the way. Oh, you're supposed to be muted. Okay. Great. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, no, but I think that even just having just taking courses and different things, like even if you don't think that that's going to end up what your career is going to be, being in marketing right now, and I think even if you're going to end up being an entrepreneur, you need to have a basic understanding of all different types of fields and disciplines. And also, like before you get into the workforce, it's time where you can just play and just learn. So even when you do get into the workforce, you should take that time to, get to know everybody at your company, get to know exactly what they do, learn what their strengths are. You never know when you're going to, like end up working with somebody and maybe need to understand like their background and their skill set in order to reach your objectives.
Let me ask you a follow-up question to that, because I think
Mhm,
what you've been able to hit on in this statement of curiosity is really what it comes down to being an entrepreneur. Whether an
mhm,
entrepreneur goes on to build a company, start a podcast, maybe they're an entrepreneur and just want to be a little bit
mhm,
more creative in a corporate full-time job. I think it comes down to curiosity and being
mhm.
okay to ask those questions and push outside of your boundaries. So do you consider yourself an entrepreneur? Is that how you would view what you're up to?
I think that's a really good question. I think that everybody who works in a professional setting, especially if they're like project managing or leading projects, is kind of an entrepreneur in a really like small way, right? Um because you're figuring out, like you're the person who is starting everything. You're the person who's finding all the resources, setting the goals. So even if you're not necessarily starting a business, if you're the person who's leading and generating a project, you're like an entrepreneur in that sense. But I personally feel like I still have that sense of curiosity and wanting to know wanting to understand the business as a whole, and not just my own skill, my own discipline and area.
I love that. So maintaining that sense of curiosity,
Hmm.
leading a team, managing goals, ensuring that the train is moving forward, but
Hmm.
growing from that also. So
Hmm.
like that's
Yeah,
exactly what you
exactly,
bring to your team.
exactly, yeah.
So on that note of
Hmm.
being an entrepreneur, no matter what that looks like for you, and it
Hmm.
does look like that for you in your current situation, something that I feel like we don't talk about enough is failures, or is it
Hmm. Hmm.
mess ups that happen along the way. So this is why
Yeah.
we're getting into our next question now. What's a mistake or failure that you've made along your way? And what do you want
Hmm.
to impart to the next generation of entrepreneurs to learn from what you experienced?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think I think one of the failures that I've experienced over my years is thinking that I need to like reach perfection out of the gate. And yeah, I know everybody I think can relate to that. I think that thinking that things need to be perfect like right away ends up keeping you from even getting started. And I think that under, putting a little bit less pressure on yourself and realizing that, you can figure things out along the way. It's a journey, it's a process. It's better to start and learn and grow than it is to, reach perfection. And so if you're starting a project and you're thinking like, hey, like I can't start this because like I just don't know what to do, and I don't know, it's not going to turn out well, and it's just not going to end up being what I want it to be. um just think about like what the first step is, and just do that.
So kind of breaking down what seems like really
Hmm.
unattainable and scary things into manageable pieces.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
love that.
exactly.
I love that. So on that note, and I think totally related to this idea of how to
Hmm.
face perfectionism and how to kind of work through that. What is one life habit that you've developed that empowers you to be your best?
Oh man, I think that like what I'm gonna say now is gonna be like counterintuitive to what I just said, but I think having a I think now that everybody's working from home, I think it's really important to have a designated workspace in your designated workspace in your in where you are, and that helps me a lot. And not just having a designated workspace, but I think also having a really clean workspace. So your work doesn't have to be perfect, but your workspace does. And just making it maybe not necessarily perfect, but I think just having, you know, a clean space overall can just help you feel more excited about work. Um, and you know, I think that that mindset will help you produce better work overall.
Okay, you're talking to a girl who seriously finds so much energy from spaces and puts a lot of
Hmm.
thought and joy into
Yeah,
the places that I put myself. So I totally understand. And I think a
yeah.
lot of people now not being able to leave their homes, their apartments,
Hmm.
in their studios where they're also sleeping, it's a really crucial step to create that
Yeah,
space in your environment that screams, this is where I'm working, this is where I'm being productive and what I'm doing
exactly.
today.
Yeah, and then also not working from bed. It's also another thing that people should try not to do. I know it's tempting, but like your work time should be your work time, and then your rest time should be your rest time. And the most that you can do to kind of separate those two is a good is good.
Absolutely. Do you feel like that also extends into building routines that are really clean and simple and having that morning routine where you're not at your workspace for the day
Yeah.
and kind of entering into that?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I think the best thing that you can do for productivity is to give yourself like an hour or two of breathing room in the morning where you're just like, this is my protected space. I'm not working yet. This is just for me. And really easing yourself into the workday. And you know, people aren't commuting as much anymore, so you might have that tendency and temptation to sleep in late, and I certainly do have that temptation. But ultimately, if you can get yourself to wake up a little bit earlier, and you know, have that's and really like have space and time for yourself, you know, I think you'll end up having a much more pleasurable workday.
Absolutely. I people always think I'm crazy because I tell them I wake up significantly early in the morning, and it's because
Hmm.
I like to have a really slow morning routine.
Yeah,
I love to have about 2, sometimes even a little bit over that hours
yeah.
just to myself, make my coffee, get ready for the day, don't look at my phone, my laptop, none of
Hmm.
that. And when I'm able to uphold that, it puts me into so much of a better
Yeah.
space that I get to kind of carry throughout my work during the
Oh
day.
yeah, totally. It is like I think it's one of the best things that you can do, but it's also one of the hardest things to do.
Absolutely. But you know what? It's a new year, so maybe it's time to inspire some of our entrepreneurs watching this video to get up a little bit earlier, even 15
Yes.
minutes earlier.
Yes. Even 15 minutes will do the trick.
Got to start small somewhere.
Yeah, true.
Amazing. So, moving into our final question for this interview, and I'm really
Hmm.
excited to be able to share that this is coming from one of our fantastic community members. Giving you a shout out to the lovely Allie Berger, who is also very community content event focused in her
Mm-hmm.
work. So, I think you guys would totally get along. She had a really interesting question, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this as well. How does sharing a user's story via marketing impact the Coffee Meets Bagel community at large?
Hmm. Hmm.
Within that, what makes stories a really successful tool in marketing and in advertising outreach?
Yeah, totally. So I think that's a great question. This is actually one of my favorite aspects of the job is, you know, hearing about people's stories. You know, I think that one of the best things about working at a dating app is the fact that we get to hear stories from people who have met their significant other on the app. And you know, the work that we do significantly impacts their life and makes them, you know, and significantly impacts their life, um, and that's really rewarding. Um, And so hearing those stories is definitely, definitely is a great perk of the job. But at the flip side, I think that dating can be really hard. It can be really fun, but it is definitely a lot of work. And what's great about stories is, it can help people. It's a way for people to feel like they're not alone in this experience. You know, especially now we're in a pandemic and people are kind of, feeling a little bit of social distance, feeling a little isolated. Stories are, a really great tool to help people feel less isolated when they see, stories of people that are going through very similar circumstances as them. They feel like, wow, like I can really see myself in that. And there's a way for them to feel connected in that way. And I think, what makes it such a great marketing tool is, when you share stories from other people and from your community, people realize that your brand doesn't think of you as, a user. We think of you as a person. We think of you as, we're not just, we're really focused on their experience and like, the human experience of dating and what that means to be a dater, in the current atmosphere and the current climate. And that we're really focused on, making sure that people have a great experience and that they're able to connect with others and that they're able to, achieve their goals in their romantic life.
You call upon something really crucial there, which I think is important, coming from the space of entrepreneurs and how we're creating conversations,
Hmm.
also dating and how you create conversations around that. It's
Yeah.
not all rosy, and
Mm-mm.
not every person that you meet you're going to end up with as your lifelong
Yeah, it's
soulmate. And
true.
I think in sharing both sides of those stories, which I think
Hmm.
Coffee Meets Bagel does really well, that's how you
Hmm.
create those relatable moments where you can hear
Exactly.
about someone who's found love and someone who's out here hustling to find
Yeah,
one person.
exactly. Yeah. And I think that, I think the more that you can share stories from your community and the more that you can create a dialogue between, the people within your community, the more that they realize that, hey, like my experience is very similar to somebody else's experience. And if they can get through it, so can I.
Absolutely. I love that. And I know we're moving into our final few minutes, but you know what? For all of the busy hustling entrepreneurs out there working on their companies, but maybe also working to find that person to end up with, do you have one crucial big piece of dating advice that you could share with us today?
Oh man, I think it's so cliche, but it's so true, which is I think the most important thing is to really love yourself. You're gonna really it's to take care, like I think the most important thing is not to just love yourself, but to treat yourself like you are somebody that you love. So whether or not that's within the entrepreneurial experience, which can be really stressful, and you might, start to get really hard on yourself, about not meeting your goals. Ultimately, you are a person, and that needs to be recognized. And the same thing with dating. I think that a lot of times there can be a lot of negative self talk when it comes to dating. You're thinking about, hey, maybe they've like just got rejected, or I'm not getting that many matches, or maybe it's something to do with me. But I think that the best thing that you can do is to talk to yourself like you are your own best friend, and um, prop yourself up in that way and give yourself the love and support that you need to get through that process.
I think there's no better way you could have ended this chat with us, to treat and
Hmm.
love yourself as though you really believe that you are loved and deserve it. That is
Yeah,
so true across
exactly.
the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing. Well, Jackie, we want to take a moment to thank you so very much for your time today. This has been such a cool experience chatting with you and learning a little bit from your experience, and hopefully even more to come for you on your content and community focused work.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was so great.
Amazing. Next Gen fam, we will see you on another week with another episode of Mentor Momentum. See you soon, everybody.
That was Mentor Momentum, sharing life and business lessons from incredible leaders. Looking for more momentum? Subscribe to our weekly momentum newsletter at nextgenhq.com and check out our other podcast, Momentum Audio, on any of your favorite podcast channels. Now that's momentum.